Welcome to Gem Collectors with Shawn. You know, it's these guys I'm working with. I'm sorry, you know. Normally, if we were normal, we'd like stop and say, oh, let's reshoot that, but we don't. We shoot this show just like it was live, and so you get the whole experience. Good, the bad, and the ugly. One of my favorite Westerns, by the way. Old Clint Eastwood flick. Welcome. And I am that Shawn of Gem Collectors with Shawn. We have been doing maybe far too many podcasts. 327th podcast. And I am here because I want to be here. I love it. I love it. Been in this rocks, minerals, fossils, gems, lapidary, goldsmithing, the whole thing, prospecting ever since the age of 11. And I'm 63 now. And, you know, luckily, I started liquidating my collection. When we really started doing the podcast, prior to that, I was still very actively collecting at a phenomenal rate over all the years. So once the podcast started, it's like, well, and then, of course, the whole COVID scare came up. I thought, you know, I have one child, my son, and he is not interested in rocks. It was always like a rock was something like, well, how many times can I skip it across the lake, you know, Dad? And that was about the extent of it until he had girlfriends. And then, of course, you know, Pops and his connection to get him good deals on gem jewelry. Then he found a use for what I did for a living. And then, of course, when he went to buy the diamond as well, the big savings. So I thought, you know, unless I want them to be filling my grave with my collection or selling it to someone else that, you know, they were looking at somebody else that maybe wanted to buy some rocks and minerals. That's the role I played with my buying office and my jewelry stores and put the word out that if someone had a rock and mineral estate or lapidary equipment, fossils, anything of that order, and wanted to sell it, to send them on to me. So the word got out, of course, you know, because I've been in business in Atlanta for a long time in various different ways, that we were the go-to place to bring a estate collection of those type items, that no one else would have any idea what to pay for any kind of crystal specimen. So basically, places either wouldn't make an offer at all or it would be so little money. So over all those years, I ended up with collections from all kinds of different sources and ended up with actually some items I'm still discovering to this day. So I won't get into more of that part of it because you see it in every week. And now I think the number's up to around 4,500 items sold in the 7 years we've been doing the podcast. And I have not purchased, this is, you know, every kind of promise you could make. Because believe me, as much as Raven and I would like to go to a gem and mineral show, well, we would just be tempted to you know, purchase more items when we don't need to. All we need to do is revisit a massive collection. And I say that laughingly because I love every single piece of it. So, for example, someone commented the other week that I show nephrite jade, but I hadn't showed any jadeite. And I thought, well, okay, that's true. Let me see what kind of jadeite I have. Honest to goodness truth, I went to that room again, that mysterious room we have down the hallway that is nigh impossible to even get into the front door. It has become a collect-all from when we moved to the house originally. Then when we had the floods and the different things, everything wound up in that room. And I'm talking about over a period of, 12 years or something we've been there. Yeah, 11, 12 years. So I revisited the room. The other week, remember, I couldn't open the door all the way. I got down on my hands and knees and I reached into the first box and I found all those really cool things, including the amber specimens that I hadn't seen. So there was a bag that looked like a kind of beach bag that you would take to the beach with some odds and ends that might be in it, but it had a little weight. And all I did, I looked my head into it. Meanwhile, I still have not gotten completely through the door. Looked my head into the bag and saw some rocks. And right then, it's like, okay, there's rocks in this bag too. I have not seen this bag. I wonder what's in here. So I backed out and went to my inventory area, which, I actually set up because of my back on the bed where I can have like everything around me, tools, equipment, lighting, and a side table, the whole works. So I opened the bag up. Crossed my heart. This is the honest to goodness truth. You wanted jadeite? I'm just going to give a quick flash. There you go. We're going to get to that soon. An amazing carving. An amazing carving in jadeite. Now we rotate out our collection because we wouldn't have enough room over different time periods. We'll get out different things to display. This thing must have been in long rotation. I talk about it all the time, and you're going to see in a moment why. And I remember possibly displaying it a number of years ago, quite a number. Well, it's been part of the personal collection because you're going to see and know, because it's my favorite carving, animal carving depiction with a great meaning to it, as are so many of the items that are carved in Asia and in China specifically. Every different type of animal is assigned some type of different meaning for the most part that you see in the carvings. So we have that, and the rest of the items in the bag were an incredible quartz and amethyst crystal pieces that you might give out to a child to encourage them in the hobby, and we had a bag of those. And so a bag of items that would be worth 50 cents or $1 maybe, and then all by itself, wrapped up in that bag of very low value items, was a amazing carving of jadeite. So that's where the magic little gremlins doing good and bad work sometimes, and in this case have delivered upon your request in a remarkable way. Whether it is sold or not, it's certainly going to go back into rotation in the home for what it is. So I got that inventoried. I already had done several other items, new items, and I thought, okay, well, I need some more. Let's go back into the room. And again, with making just a little bit more headway into the room, I had to take some big things off, and one was a box of some neat jewelry display items, new items, like gem tube trays and whatnot. So I moved that, and she does amazing wrapping. She was Raven was in the flower business for a long time, so she did those, could do, when you do that shrink wrap paper and all, she makes beautiful, beautiful like wedding baskets and things like that, could do all that stuff. So she has all that kind of equipment kind of mixed in with everything else. So I kind of moved some things aside, and I saw a box. And on the box, it looked like it was basically a fishing tackle box. Yeah. Had the word Raven written on the outside of it. Yeah. I gave it just a little bit of a shake. And as a fisherman from many, many, many years, I know what a lure sounds like. And nothing in that box sounded like a lure. but there was a allure to my curiosity. So I just holding it with two hands with the closet in the middle of the doorway. I get the lid popped open just a wee little bit, and a treasure chest was inside. And with that, we're going to continue with the comments. Yeah. And I smiled because Mother Earth had once again rained its treasures down upon me, and therefore all of us. Okay, so the trivia questions from last week. Remember we had Jimbo in Delaware was the winner, I believe. But the questions from the show were: name 2 crystal forms mentioned that diamond crystals are found as. So, in looking at that parcel of the white diamond crystals, there was 2 that under magnification that I had mentioned that were easily visible, and they're some of the most recognized crystal formations that you would come across in a batch of rough diamonds. So, the answer being the classic octahedral diamond, or bipyramidal or octahedron. That is basically, if you could picture, a 4-sided pyramid, take 2 of those base to base, and hence the word bipyramidal. Or when you do that, of course, a pyramid has 4 flat sides coming away from the center point and a base. So 4 sides and a base. But when you put that base against another pyramidal shaped base, then you still have only 4 sides and 4 sides, hence 8 sides, and you have then the octahedron part of the description. And that crystal form is, you find most commonly with gems that are isotropic or don't have a birefringence. In other words, they are singly refractive. And so you have your spinel, you have your diamond, you have your other gems that when you rotate them on a refractometer, you don't get a high and a low reading. And it is between the high and the low reading, that difference is when you look at a chart or on even the side of a refractometer, and that's its range of the difference between the high and the low, the range of its birefringence. And some gems are greater than others, and are so doubly refractive that you can see it with the visible eye, or it makes it a little bit wavy or hazy, blurry, fuzzy, all kinds of other kind of terms you could call it when you look inside it. And so gems like that can be the white zircons, the blue zircons. You have also the calcites, the rhodochrosites, the fluorites, those gems that are very doubly refractive in that case. So we'll have that property. So those were the 2 answers we were looking for, because the only ones I had mentioned as far as what I could actually see with the magnified view was the octahedron or bipyramidal, any of those I'll accept, and the other one was the macle. The macle is a triangular shaped, so I even accept triangle, but the official term for that is what I was looking for, is the macle shapes. And they're flat diamonds, and so those were some of the ones early on, some of the flat diamonds that were some of the ones that were first ever crafted into some form of cut or use, and that's where you get the foil backs. I remember I showed you one from a time period, And remember, we played Guess the Weight of it, and it was quite surprising that it weighed so little, because it was like razor thin, yet when it was put in the foil back, it made it look so much deeper and gave it reflection from underneath, because that thin, you're not going to get any type of scintillation or brilliance coming out of a diamond. So between some of those oldest cuts, they actually used some of the natural crystal faces as part of the look, and so they didn't have to do a lot of primitive polishing to be able to mount them into a type of ring that, for the time periods, actually look pretty amazing to me when I see rings that are and pieces that are that old. So those old shape diamonds like that were able to be used as jewelry as they were, because as long as the transparency was, clean enough, with the octahedron, it might be a little pointed, but you could turn it or a different direction, and you'd still get some reflection from its natural angles, and then the mackle also would be just like a thin little rose cut type of diamond. So the second question was, what is the name given to a gem or crystal that changes color in 3 or more directions? And so we're not going to take Usambara effect, which I think it was Brad that introduced me to that term, an unusual property of a tourmaline having an alexandrite type effect, except looking down the C-axis of the stone. So quite unusual about that. And but what we were looking for was the what is it called? Like if you have a stone that is not just dichroic, because we know stones that are like iolite that they call dichroite. The overall word you can use, it's about the color changing with the direction that you view the stone or the crystal. Now, when you have color that changes in 2 different directions, it's called dichroic. When you have color that changes in 3 directions, it is called trichroic. So kind of easy to remember. Question is, what is the name given to a gem or crystal that changes color in 3 or more? And that would mean the word playchroic, which is in multi-colors, directions, however many that you want. So, and with that, certain gems, one of my favorite ones that is so dynamic to change color is, well, let's put it this way. For one stone that a lot of people don't realize that is playchroic, in other words, changes color with a lot of different directions, is tanzanite. And tanzanite, it's really quite stunning most of the times, unless you have a loose stone and get to play with it and get it out and view it in every different direction, you wouldn't notice. And sometimes it goes from, you're talking about a dark purple to a blue color, that kind of color change. So kind of within the realm of the tanzanite color. So you may not consider it always as part of a playchroic color change situation, but it certainly is. And so again, unless you have a stone that you can view in every different direction with the correct lighting, you wouldn't always, again, know. So loose stones, you can do that. Once something's mounted, it's difficult to do. So the word really we were looking at was playchroic, which kind of covers them, the three or more part to the property. And iolite is one, again, that is one that, and I showed you one of the learning stones that I kept was a piece of iolite, because it was completely clearish tan in one direction, and it went to an incredible violet, bluish purple in the other. And so it's like, wow, how can something have that strong of a color change? Almost as much all as that color center in the culet of that sapphire, where it had that little bit of blue and cut to where it radiated throughout the entire sapphire. That kind of effect, except with the iolite, of course, again, another piece that has to be oriented correctly by the cutter, or else you're going to have a tannish, clearish color iolite, or that other, gorgeous color. So a lot of fun with those type of gems. All right, let's get to the comments. There's only a couple few, so it won't take but a moment. I also want to mention that to Miss Penny, that I got your package, and I'm actually going to go over and show the rocks that you sent, that you picked up from around your yard, and we'll do a little bit of show and tell on your behalf, and it'll be interesting for people to see what is used for some of the crush and run in Montreal, up in the area of Quebec, Montreal, and that area. So also, thank you for the note to Raven and the book that I'm sure she will enjoy. And the funny thing is, or maybe not so funny, but the magical part is, not only this whole show, because the magic just goes on and on. The timing of it couldn't be better, because her birthday happens to be this weekend. So there you go. You beat me to it, because she and I haven't been doing really any birthdays. Because there's so many other things that we need to put it to. Like, I need some teeth there, but and get to some doctors. But so yeah, she really appreciated that. And we both noticed, of course, that you wrote in cursive, which is one of the last times that we ever get to see that, because they do not teach that in schools anymore, which I couldn't believe when I found that out to be the case. And maybe I can understand it, I guess, with computers and these phones and all, but I don't know. That's like losing an art form I don't know. That would have been caveman days when they said, okay, we're going to, not do, or the Egyptians, they say, we're not going to do hieroglyphics anymore. We're just going to, write in pickup sticks or something. I don't know. But, yeah. So anyway, okay. Again, passing that on, and it was cool to see the rocks. All right, Miss Cindy in Pennsylvania. Hello, Rock family. I am naming this the Up in Smoke episode in honor of Cheech and Chong. LOL. Wrapping diamonds in rolling paper and nephrite jade roach clip holders. OMG. I was rolling on the floor laughing at you guys. I did night shifts for 9 years, and it is a different world. So I understand completely the hijinks that must have gone on when you did your 3 a.m. shows. And that is a reference if you want to see not only great inventory, but see a fun show. Watch last week's show, and you'll know what she is referencing, because I had the coolest nephrite jade base with this really neat flexible clip that could be used for all kinds of different purposes, holding gemstones, etc., or whatever other uses. Cindy giving away her children of the 70s, she says. We're stoners in more than one way, and that picture from Gabby was awesome. And yes, that is a great word, use of the word, because we are definitely children of stone. And that could definitely be applied. I graduated high school in 1979. I say I am that 70s child. So think about it. Every one of my teenage years was spent in the 70s. That included a 1977 concert at Tampa Stadium, Led Zeppelin. Wow. What a great show. What a great time. She goes on to say, excellent specimens and gems in addition to the joking. Trivia by Pyramidal and triangular, she writes, but I'll give you that for Mackle. And then play Crowick, so you got that definitely right. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Cindy in South Central Pennsylvania. Miss Elisa in Florida. Hello, Professor Shawn, the lovely Raven, GSN crew and Rock family. Professor, you had a phenomenal show this week. Loved all the items and the information. I'm excited for what you will show us next. My answer to this week's trivia are by Pyramidal and triangular flat Mackles. That's probably a really good description, even though those in the know a Mackle is a triangular shape, but putting the two of those together gives more information in the name, and you know how much I like that. And then number 2, trichroism. So that was a good answer, but doesn't only, that covers, kind of narrows it to the 3. But I am giving that a correct answer as well. My favorite item of the week was the blue Indian moonstone beads. Take care, everyone. Miss Elisa, yes, those were cool moonstone beads, and moonstone like that is getting harder and harder to find. I happen to know where a big deposit is below Lake Lanier. Jimbo in Delaware. Hello, Shawn and fellow rock stars. Road trip to Diamond Fields of Arkansas? Sounds interesting. I will answer trivia questions. And let's see how he did. By Pyramidal and triangular flat macular. Certainly spot on. And then play Crowick. Very good with that one. My closing. As we go about our walk of life, keep your eyes to the ground. Who knows what's to be found? I know, because we're getting ready to see shortly what Miss Penny finds in the ground, and she also said in her backyard. Blessings to all. Jimbo in Delaware. Miss Barbara in Brooklyn. Hi, Professor Shawn, Raven, GSN crew, and the whole Rock family. A lively show. I giggled at the interplay between you and Asif. More, please. But he'll need to get closer to the mic so we can clearly hear him. Or would that be too dangerous? Oh, absolutely dangerous. Yeah, and there even is some big sound curtains between us. Yeah. He had some other singers there that was probably just as well that you missed out on those. I was confused at why you would be telling us about repairing sphere-making machines with all the talk about hemispheres. Then I heard refractometer and understood. It was a hemicylinder you were regrinding. I heard that little rectangle is only made of glass and gets scratched by constant contact with stones and dried RI fluid. That's why only plastic-tipped and human tweezers are recommended. The refractometer was my first and favorite tool to help identify lower than over-the-limit stones. Uses stinky toxic fluid but provides stellar results. I'd be interested in a good monochromatic lamp to use with mine. So, what I have perfected was, because part of the big trick is taking those little hemicylinders out, and that's the part where you do place the stone on, and that's difficult to do, and to remount them. I am able to actually repolish that little hemicylinder while it's in the machine. And the depth and height of it depends on how many times you can polish it before you have to replace it altogether, which a GIA branded refractometer is around $1,000 now. And I think they had to replace one here after I'd done it like 6 times over the course of a number of years. And it was like half of that. It was really expensive to do. My question was, how are they scratching this? And okay, so it's 1.81 is the highest limit that it will read. And to get that with glass, because glass if you have just a standard blown clean glass, its refractive index is like 1.45 to 1.50. It's one of the lowest there is. It's down, like with fluoride, with calcium, some of those that are really, really low refractive indexes. So for it to be able to read something as high as some of the garnet family members, not all of them, but some of them, the glass is leaded glass. Leaded glass, which we know is a higher refractive index, or it would be, because you have that dispersion, that beauty you get out of a chandelier that's made with leaded glass. And that's why also leaded glass you can feel heavier. So it raises the level that you can get a readout from. Now, I have no idea actually, because I question, how are they scratching these so badly? And my thing, I think what part of it was that you have to be careful of is when stones are set, sometimes the prongs, many times actually, depending on the depth of the crown angles, they can be angles like this, like what would be a diamond, which is like 38 degrees, or depending on the thickness they have, they could be really narrow. So really thin stones. The prong would stick up above the table, so therefore it makes it very hard to get an accurate refractive index reading, because the table needs, with this stinky, smelly liquid, which actually contains sulfur, that acts as a conduit between the stone and the hemicylinder. So when the prongs are sticking up above the table, it doesn't make that flat contact. And so I think in trying to position it, many times gemologists will move the piece around and scratch it in various ways. Some prongs have diamonds set in the top of the prongs. Other times, in moving it around, another portion of the ring will come in contact, or a portion of another stone, because some are gouged so badly. I've had one of mine for over 25 years, and there's not a single scratch in it, and I used it all the time. So I think it's just in proper training, proper use, and proper knowing the limits of the hemicylinder, as far as just how hard or how easy it is to scratch that. So, but I've mastered able to sit there while watching TV, and I just hand sand it and then take it up through with different diamond grits in hand polishing it, and charged decent money for that to be able to do it. But thing is if you, and then of course usually you end up polishing a little bit of the aluminum on either side, and I would go back in and I'd refinish them all the way. I'd redo the sand paper on the flat table around it and whatnot. But again, still, it was good money. Usually made like $50 an hour doing it, and never needed any more than some very basic, simple pieces and compounds. Nothing mechanized or anything. So. You never know. I didn't know I could actually take the scratches out of one until it was one of those, again, things like, oh man, we need this back. Can you, we got all these stones coming through. We got to, one of those things. Okay, well, I'll give it a try, because it was going to be like a long time if sent off to be done. And so I just put my brain in the compounds and little cotton wheels and whatnot I had to use, and boom, it worked out, turned out great, looks great, and been doing all of those ever since. So, yeah, all right, now, that is it. So we had, I don't know, 3 or 4, pretty much everyone in it was close enough to being right. So we put the names in the hat, assign a number, draw the number. This week, the answer is, shall I say the winner? would be Miss Barbara. Let's show Miss Barbara what she has won, since it was so, oddly enough, appropriate to what we were talking about. These are the blue diamonds that were, of course, are treated, but they are exactly the same crystal parcels as the white ones, except these are treated blue ones. And again, you'll have so much fun into looking at them under magnification. See, I can see there's a triangular mackerel-shaped one right there. So, and there is a bipyramidal one right there. And how perfect it is, because you can see also blue diamonds here, also some green colored ones, and you can grade them out and sort them for the different shapes, because it's fun to do. And there you go. Okay, so let me put those away and we'll be back with the star of the show. Check this out. This is what you think of when you talk about a scolecite spray. And now you've seen those truly museum quality scolecites that, that I was so fortunate to be able to offer. Well, here is a, well, very dramatic, just a smaller version of it. But look at this, it is quite dramatic. Look at that. And so this is actually how they will form. It's from a small base like this. And the formation is called acicular. That's one of the names, meaning, you know, kind of needle-like. And then, if you didn't notice, I'm pointing it out right there. Look at this. There is a peach stilbite floating right across the top of that. So that adds a, well, a cherry on top of the ice cream sundae there kind of idea. And let's just look at this a little closer right here at the contact point, where it, you know, almost in a parasitic type way, the stilbite has attached itself to, yeah, I've been watching too many horror movies, to it, but really neat. And I love every time I see one of these other, like a crystal coming in at another angle like that. So here is a very dramatic display of a classic spray formation to scolecite, and then often to other minerals as well. And I am saying that, you know, it was so hard to get that to balance the first time. Here, I know you wanted to see what it looked like on its side, but it'd be easy at home. So this is a truly amazing collector's crystal, and I don't even have another one like it. So that was it. That was my one big one. And I have this at an amazing opportunity if you want to add scolecite without breaking the budget. How about this? Only $21. $21 on that guy. And you won't be seeing another one pop up, because there is not another one. That was the only one I had. Now, let me show you something real quick here, and from Miss Penny. This is, so there's no item number to this. Also, I'm just doing a little educational moment. This is what Miss Penny sent me as one of the rocks that she has just around, this might be one in the backyard. This is actually a great rock to have just laying around. This is a very felsic type of rock. We would consider it more of a granite type if there was less of the pink, which is a pink feldspar in this piece. So this would actually make great granite top material because of the color differentiation. And you can also take a diamond saw to this. You could saw it up. It's a very hard material, and it would take a amazing polish. and that's kind of the wet finish of how it would look between the reddish orange colors interspersed with the black darker minerals in between. That is a great specimen. Now, the other ones, let me just show you real quick. Here is what you might consider more of a classic crush and run for a different part. We don't have anything quite like a crush and run. Our quarries around here, it's more of a silica quartz material. Now this, I would normally, it looks like a basalt, very much like a basalt, which is lots. Basalt is the dark rock on the back of the zeolites. And with the quarries that are in that part of Canada, a lot of them are quarries that would have basalt in them. And if not basalt, you're also talking about some potential slate. But seeing that it doesn't have as much of a layered pattern to it, I'm thinking slate, they can actually find more value to it than just crush and run. So I would bet you that it is basalt. Now, let me show you one more. There was this one, and so when I got it and I turned it and I saw this material, which when you see that exact color, it often is representative of a mineral that often will be radioactive. In other words, it has a uranium oxide content in it. To some extent, many of them are very much that color. So, having a Geiger counter, I checked that just to make sure, and looked at it a little closer, and it's just a different color algae growth that we don't have down here. So, but for a moment, I thought, oh, that we had something really good, because that would have been great. Okay, so I am going to tuck those away, and thank you very much, Miss Penny, for showing us a little part of your Mother Earth world that you have in your neck of the woods. Now, let's take a little trip to North Africa and look at item 1169224. 1169224. What I have here is an example of the amazing blue barite that was discovered not all that long ago in part of Morocco, and it is there hadn't been any barite found like it any place else with that same crystal form. And so you can see it's beautiful classic barite blades, and you have a limonite that tends to it's not like a limonite that gets your hands all dirty, not that kind of limonite. Look at the crystal forms here, though. This is what is so striking. When the blue barites were first discovered, the pricing again on them, kind of like the yellow lepidolites, was just crazy expensive. And I stayed away from them, and glad I did, because then from my Moroccan dealer, I was able to several months later get a much more reasonable price on them. So this has, again, some incredible formations, and also in more than just one direction, and a little bit more intense blue down there. So it can be displayed quite nicely. And with all of these, what factor they had was this other material, this limonite and other material that made it was very difficult to get specimens that were free and clear of that material. So that's kind of indicative to all of them. Maybe you could get a blade or two that was free and clear of it, but a lot of the larger specimens. I have a tremendous large one that I may bring in and offer, and it's stunning, except it, again, is interspersed with some of that other matrix material. Price on this guy doesn't reflect the price of what they were when they first were introduced in the market. This is a really large one, and this would be considered at a huge sale opportunity at only $48. $48 on that, and like I said, that is a really discounted price for what that material and what those kind of specimens sell for. All right, now I have next something that I haven't offered any in a while, but I thought, you know, maybe it's time. Item 1169124, 1169124. Maybe it's time to, because I know there is a lot of you out there that are lapidaries that work with big items, like Miss Gabby and her husband John, like Harry, like Anthony, like Charles. Take a look at this. Here is one amazing piece, one of the very few I have left of this, some of the highest quality, lapis, and it's from that same batch over that you might have seen me offer at different times. And look at that coloring. And so this is from the world-renowned source, Sari Song, and it is really clean. Now, let me show you, because you may not notice it right at first, but when you see it from the right angle, you're going to be able to tell that, look at this, okay. So when you see that, with that white layer right there, and then look at here, on the bottom, you have the white layer. That tells you that this came straight out of a seam, and then look at the parallel nature to both sides of this. And of course, then it matches up with the direction of calcite. You can see the layering of the formation of it. So this, is exactly everything in that seam, the thickness of it and everything. Look at the intensity of that color lapis. If you look at the Peruvian lapis, if you look at the Chinese lapis, you get a blue that is not a vibrant blue. It is a much more navy blue, especially the Chilean material. This quality only comes from Afghanistan, and it is that electric, stunning blue. Now, of course, remember, lapis is not what they used to think it is. They've determined that there is, because it's lapis lazuli, so that the mineral that they thought was in it for so long was lazurite, but it comes to find out it's actually a sulfur-dominant aween. But we won't get into that part because it's going to be a long time before you're going to get anybody be able to change their thinking and use of the word lapis to anything else. So you have the entire thickness of the piece of seam covering all the minerals in it. Now, there can be everything from mariolite to fluorescent calcite, all kinds of type of different remember, lapis is a rock. It is not its own specific mineral, so it's made up of, pyrite, it can be calcite, it can be, of course, lazurite, sulfur-dominant aween, several things, other things in it. And many of them can be fluorescent. Now, I did find some striking fluorescent areas, just small orange areas, and you'll be able to find them as well. And other than that, they weren't really noticeable in any other manner. That's a little bit of pyrite right there, by the way, which is kind of neat to see. And there wasn't, all this didn't fluoresce either, so it wasn't like it was fluorescent calcite. But what I did notice, look at this, dendrites. There is some beautiful dendrites in this, which I hadn't seen dendritic material as part of it before, but I thought that was pretty cool. So this is a really large piece of lapis. Most of the pieces are from much smaller seams and smaller areas to produce this kind of quality. And so this piece you could really work with, or it also just makes a stunning display specimen because of its size. And now that's a rock. That is a beautiful, beautiful rock. Really is. You've got an excellent opportunity on this. This is the largest piece I have of this material now, the largest I have. And so when you see it in my hand, you can see that that's a, compared to the other pieces I've offered, that's quite a large size to it. So there's not going to be a bigger one. That's going to be it. Price on this guy, only $128. Only $128 on that. And when you look at this type of quality, it makes all the difference in the world as to whether it's shot through with pyrite or whether it is mixed with white calcite. So when you see this, how clean that material is, when it's blue, it's blue. There's nothing else in it. It's just that gorgeous lapis color blue. And then of course, white minerals just seem to be concentrated together. And carvings are done beautifully, incorporating the white matrix material as part of the carving. And so if I had time as a retired person, I would love to carve and sit and carve something like out of something softer like this material. But I don't think I'd take on maybe something, I don't know what I would actually do. I'm just something I've always wanted to do. Even, make spheres. I've got a little sphere maker. So this is large enough you can do all that kind of work with. But I've saved a few smaller pieces that I'll be able to work with that I'm sure will keep me busy into my golden years. Now, let me show you, since you're probably wondering, and I can't wait any longer to show you the jadeite request. Item number 1169724. 1169724 and 1169724. Here it is, by request. You want to know if I had any jadeite? Well, yes, that would be the answer. Look at this carving. And of course, what is it? It is my favorite carving. And it happens to be the most popular carved animal, I guess, or animal or object that there is in China. And that is, if you haven't noticed it, I'll give you a moment to notice. Maybe let's turn it upside down. Now, do you notice? Look at that face. Wow. A bat. Yep. This is why we had it and why we loved it all the years that we've had it. And then it got tucked away and stayed tucked away for a while. A bat. And it's Burma jadeite. And so last weekend, or last show, I talked all about how to spot and recognize the ancient nephrites of China, because that was what they actually carved up until a couple hundred years ago when their nephrite deposits ran out and they turned to Burma, and it's jadeite deposits, which was a harder material. This is classic look for jadeite, and you can do a hardness test if you have the two side by side, and the jadeite's going to be a little bit harder. Also, you have certain minerals that are in nephrite that aren't in jadeite, and so you can, like, let's say, the common nephrites that you see will most often have little darker inclusions in it, whereas jadeite won't. Now, there is always a lot more to carvings. Remember, I tell you, if you see a carving of a piece of jadeite, and let's say it's a carving of a bird, look somewhere, because that will be carved somewhere. A bat. A bat is so often hidden in carvings that unless you really know what to look for or are looking for it intentionally, you won't find it, because they're carved decoratively and hidden in a way, and it's incorporated in the carving to be just that. And here's why the bat is so important and why it makes such a common carving, because of the fact that in Mandarin Chinese, fu, the word for good fortune, sounds very much like and similar to the same word for bat, which is bianfu. And I guess if you're speaking Mandarin, which I don't, that the use of the two sound very much alike. And depending on what dialects, other times the word for bat is fuk. And so that also is a similar sounding word to the other meanings that they attribute to that homophone. So a homophone being two words that sound alike but have different meanings. So in Chinese culture, there are all parts of the other item carved with this carving, have you noticed it, are considered items of springtime, fertility, and especially long life. In this carving, by incorporating the organic item, that means long life and refreshment, renewal, the springtime part, and fertility. That is why you see the peach carved with it. So every part of the peach, whether it is, look at the peach fruits right up here. And of course, being the Georgia here, which is considered the peach state, we know a little bit about peaches. So if you look up here, my peach blossoms, my peach tree that was going to have an amazing crop of peaches this year. Remember I told you a couple weeks ago, we have had 2 hard freezes since. Bye-bye, 3rd year in a row to my peach crop I was going to have for my one big tree. But it was a lot of big blossoms and really nice. So here is the peaches. Now, so everything from the fruit to the leaves. So if you look at this. There are actual leaves, and these are exactly what a peach leaf looks like. To the branches, look at this. They depict, of course, a branch by showing the different years and the ring. So you have all 3 parts of the peach tree, the fruit, the branch, and the leaves depicted in this carving. And as part of it, look at the detail in the bat. And of course, the way it's depicted, it's hanging upside down. I like the way they put a little curl to the tail here. But there's something else in this carving, if you didn't notice. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this piece will come out, but someone very wisely hot glued it down in there. You can see the hot glue right there. So I could actually pull that out if I wanted to, but I'm not going to, because it's going to protect you or me from it falling out when we go to turn it to look at it, or someone else does and doesn't realize that it's going to fall out of here. But if you want, of course, you know, hot glue is, you can run it under hot water. The wood is, this type of wood and varnish that they put on it is not going to be hurt. But anyway, it can easily be taken out of here if you want. But other than that, it isn't, which I'm glad. Okay, so because I'm going to turn it upside down right now, did you notice right here there is a second bat? And this is the way you often will see them, with these little curls out here. That's how you often will first spot them. They don't often necessarily have much to do with the actual bat in this case, but they carve them as part of it anyway. So as we come in a little closer, you can see that here, of course, are the bat wings, the body, and then, of course, hidden behind the wood is the rest of the carving of the face and the rest of the body here on this side. Now, let's look at the back. Now, the back is a classic finish carving. I tried to see if there was any meaning, like if this was going to be a lucky coin, but it is not carved as such, and this is just really the back of the bat, the way they have depicted it. And I looked and scanned for the other thing. When you hot glue something, I pretty much could see every part of it, because I was looking for any kind of signature or anything, or hash marks or anything like that to it, for any type of other age identification, and didn't really spot anything such as. Here's the bottom. There wasn't any markings on the wood, but I did like it. The stand has these little felt pads. So there you go. This is a large piece. Look at the size of that. It's all completely natural Burma jadeite, and you know, because it's not super high gem quality, that would make it unaffordable for most situations. In this case, it makes it affordable because it's just a nice classic piece, but the carving is what I really, really like, because of the meaning behind the bats, and how it translates. Oh, it's also completely matches up to Feng Shui, the art of decorating your home in a beneficial way. So everything about this carving is auspicious, meaning is to bring good into a home. So it would translate as the between the bat and the peach, it translates as a wishings for an especially long life, springtime renewal, fertility if you are looking for children. And then from the other meaning for bat and the word fu, it translates and is often used for the meaning for good blessings, happiness, and riches. It's the most popular carving symbol used in China is the bat. And, you know, a lot of people might think that's kind of creepy, but certainly, you know, I have my own very interesting bat stories from the mine shafts I've gone to, and of course the latest one being that listening unit that was placed outside the cave to monitor the bats in the cave, which I thought was pretty very creative way to be able to monitor bat activity. So this is a fantastic carving, and yeah, you asked for jadeite. Here is the real deal. And if I was to pick a carving of any type of animal or combination of meaning or spiritual meaning in Chinese and Asian culture, it would be what we're looking at right here, the combination of the bat and the peach tree. Of course, it goes perfect, the peach tree here in Georgia anyway, but the meaning behind the two combined together, that is a powerful statement right there. Price, only $288. Only $288, and with that really cool carving with it as well. All right, that's worth me taking a moment so I can pack that back up safely, and I'll be right back. Now, this is not something you see every day. These are considered angel wings. Now, selenite. Selenite, of course, you're very familiar with. Selen, named after the word for moon. Now, the other type of selenite, there's two different kind of quality. Well, it has to do with quality. Gypsum. So selenite is a type of gypsum, and gypsum can be, common and opaque and mined to where, they used to, gypsum board and those kind of things. But when you have a nice enough quality, you can do things like cut those spheres you saw behind me that have the cat's eyes, or have those larger crystals I've sold. And of course, selenite makes up the most amazing geological treasure, I think, in our time, and that is the Nica mine, N-A-I-C-A, in Chihuahua, Mexico, where they broke into an actual living, growing, forming geode, basically, in the earth of selenite crystals that were upwards of 50, 60 feet long, 3 and 4 feet across, and if it weren't for keeping the pumping going and the water out of, the saturated solution out of there, which they intend to reflood the cave, I hope so, so that they can continue to let nature do its thing. And it would. With a saturated solution, those crystals would just continue to form and grow. And if you've never seen the pictures of it, I think it's called the Cave of Swords, but there's a couple of different pockets in there. It's a large room, a large area. It's worth Googling and looking at the pictures. National Geographic did a big thing. They were allowing scientists in, and you could stay for maybe 10 minutes, and that was wearing an ice pack and all these other needed safety issues, because the temperature hovered around 130 degrees, which would not take more than minutes to kill a human. So it's kind of the opposite way of hypothermia. You have hyperthermia, where it's just too hot for the human body to survive. But it is in those perfect conditions because selenite, along with other low like calcites, they are low temperature minerals that will form at even room temperature, basically. A lot of them. And of course, if you remember from your high school, maybe chemistry, that when you have a saturated solution, the hotter a solution, like let's say you add sugar into water, the hotter the water is, the more sugar it can hold, versus trying to dissolve sugar in water at room temperature. You can dissolve a lot more at a higher temperature. But then what happens, as that water cools, it can no longer hold the sugar suspended in as part of the solution. And what happens? It drops out as crystals. As the solution cools, it will begin to form crystals. And this is how all pretty much of Mother Nature's hydrothermally formed crystals, which includes quartz, form. from very saturated solutions, and in the cooling process, different minerals, let's say you have a complete smorgasbord of a solution that has so many different combinations of different elements and minerals, elements mixed in it. And as the solution cools at different temperatures, different minerals will crystallize out of it along the way. They will bond up and form molecules, and then the molecules will build on other molecules of the same mineral and continue. Now, as different solutions come through, that's how you get your multicolored, let's say, fluorites, with the slight changes in the available impurities at the time. That's how you get your different colors in things from tourmaline to fluorites and so many others, your phantoms. So I say that because you have, again, another low temperature, relatively low temperature mineral in selenite. And in this particular environment, you can have crystals that grow quite large. Now, there are a series of different mines around the Chihuahua area, but these came from the Nika mine complex, and they are really cool. Now, they can be displayed as angel wings like this. Look at the size of these, and they're absolutely beautiful in their reflection. If you're really brave, you could probably maybe split these, okay? So these are actually form kind of, you can see the lamellar nature of it, and you'd have to be really lucky to be able to do it. Now, I looked to see if these were actually a split of themselves. And remember, selenite is another mineral that can grow curved. It doesn't grow always straight. You can have these other well, as you see here, you can have somewhat of a curved nature to it. Now, in looking at this, it looks like, yes, they could have been one split off the other, but they don't line up perfectly, even though there's an inclusion across the top here that I think they did. Now, one of these is repaired. So in other words, I think there had been you can see this natural kind of imperfection across here, and completely natural in this one, but this one I think it had broken off and it has been repaired. So just disclosing that, even though it's perceivably, when you look at the two, because of the inclusion in the same place, you can't really notice that portion like that. That's also, though, what tells me that they probably were part of the same, and how they got into two pieces like that, I have no idea. Now, they can be displayed in a couple of ways. You can make, as someone said, some devil's horns out of them, or those look like goat horns, very much so. You can display them, though, in a much holier way as angel wings like that. I think that's a really beautiful use of them, and I just had never seen anything else like it. And that's how we had them displayed. So we had them, and that's just it. You can display them in a much, oddly enough, in a very angelic way, or just turn them around and point them outwards, and you can display them in a very devilish way. So kind of interesting like that. All right, so I'll just lay there and give you an amazing opportunity pricing on those, especially for those of you who already have some great selenite. This set would really add to your collection something that no one else would have. This would probably be a showstopper for the little bit amount of money. $68 for the pair. $68 for the pair. And it's one of those that, okay, selenite, no, isn't always very expensive, but in a situation like this, go find another pair. Go find another pair that has the angelic wing style, and it only works angelically as a angel wing because of this portion of, if it was just like this, it would look just like a horn and not a wing. It is this portion when turned in a wing fashion that you have get the whole look of the angel part turned differently, and it looks different than that. So only $68. Had those a long time, and time for someone else to enjoy them, because being selenite, they have such a wonderful moonlight reflection to them, just like those cat's eyes that you see behind me. They are, again, not expensive, but have a amazing look for something as simple as a cat's eye selenite sphere. So cool stuff indeed. Now, I was trying to get this lapis back in this bag, but that might have to wait for after the show, talking again so you don't hear all the crunching going on over the microphone, and voila, there we go. Okay, now I'm getting, those are some of the larger items, so let me get to some of the smaller items that you're going to be really excited over, because I am. Okay, now, yes, this one. Okay, so let me just move this aside for a moment. Let me bring this over here, put this up on top of here for the moment. I'll clean this off in a moment. All right, item number. This is, oh boy. Okay, when I found this, I knew it was something really neat, and I hadn't seen it in a long time. And this was one of my new discoveries in the vast collection that we have. Oh, 1170024. 1170024. And what I'm getting ready to show you is not something you see often. And if you do, it's usually at a very expensive price. So here is the cool box it came in. And look at what we have here. Look at this. It is a stunning malachite crystal spray. Look at that, sitting on top of shattuckite on quartz. And you're thinking, wow, that is a mouthful. What was that you just said? Okay, so it most likely is going to be a new mineral for most of you, shattuckite. And it is named after the type locality. In other words, the locality it was named after and discovered, which was the Shattuck mine in Bisbee, Arizona, which we know is a huge copper producing area. But that's not where this specimen is from. This is from the amazing mine, the Tantara mine in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And shattuckite until then, it was confused with, and still can be confused with, another mineral called planchite. But shattuckite is made up of pretty much simple. It's a copper silicate or copper hydroxy silicate, and that's it. So copper being the main ingredient, so to speak, the main element, hardness of 3.5, and in combination with a crystal like this, this is one of the largest malachite crystal sprays that is not associated with another larger specimen, like those stunning malachite, fibrous malachite specimens I've had. This one is completely unique, and for its size, standalone size, and the way it is perched on there. Aesthetics is everything when it comes to mineral specimens. So look at this beautiful blue color. Look at the, and there's just a little bit of that goop at the bottom, so I'll pull it off. Look at how the malachite has filled in and kind of almost cementing the quartz together. And then look at the crystals growing here on that spray. Probably not quartz, probably something else. Could be cerussite. I didn't really check that out. Now look on the other side, down here. Let's look right down here. Wow. Dave, let's do some of your magic here, and let's go in close. Look at that. There we go. That's what I want to see. Look at those. You would not think that's malachite if you didn't know better. That looks like a gemstone. It looks like savarite crystals by way of the color, or tourmalines, or to think malachite, that gemmy. What an amazing grouping of crystals that is. Stunning. And then as we keep looking, look at the shattuckite. Isn't that something there, Latif? Look at this. The shattuckite like this, and then back in that. Imagine these crystals growing. And I told you, we're going to grow crystals here on the set. I'm getting everything together, and we're going to be doing some crystal growing so you can understand that process a little better. We did it once before, a couple years ago. We're going to do it again. Look at this. Look at this formation. And I have no doubt that there's probably not another hidden copper mineral amongst this group somewhere. There's so many places to explore, and this is one of those that yes, you can explore for a long time. Like, see that right there, that darker blue on the quartz? It looks like it's even in the quartz. That would be really interesting. So here's the backside of, look at that spray. I mean, this was, when I found this, it's like, oh my, I had forgotten it. And one thing I didn't look was in the quartz. To backlight the quartz and look in the quartz, no telling, especially from this area, what you could find. Everything from anhydrous to other inclusions inside that quartz. There also was a little radial spray. Let's see if I can remember where I saw it. It's similar to this, except much smaller. Look at how pretty that is, though. That looks like a delta of blue sand washing out from a mountain full of sapphires or something. It's just a wonderful, wonderful play of colors. Look at those crystals now, like that. Wow. Wow. That is impressive. Really is. And to have all the different looks of shadowkite here, you know, from the radial formations to these crystal formations right here, are going to be something special when you look at these close up. And then there's a couple interesting things back in there, it looks like. These I am, look at that, quite curious about. All right, this is a stunning opportunity for somebody, and I only have the one. It is a real gem in the marketplace to have found this. This is really old. I mean, in other words, this isn't 5 years, 10 years. This goes back a while from when it was mined. Price on this, it's, oh, here, let me show you on the bottom. You can even see some writing there. Malachite crystal on shadowkite when you peel that away from the Congo. So that's told me everything I needed to tell me the rest and to easily figure out what mine it came from. That's the other special thing, is to know exactly the mine that it came from as well, the Tantara mine, and well known for some stunning pieces like this. Price only $88. Only $88 on that, and that is a real collector's piece without breaking the bank. That type of specimen, scaled up only a little bit in size, and you would be adding a 0 to the price. So I am going to tuck it away safely and let someone display it as they wish. So now, the next item I have, we've got lots of goodies here to get to. So let me clean this tray, because I have something next that is not something I normally do, and that is selling a faceting repair project. That is one of the main ways I still make money, is by not cutting from rough. Cutting from rough is actually easier than what I have specialized in doing. Let's take a look at item number 1169524. 1169524. So what I ended up specializing in doing in the fastening world is recutting. In other words, going back and finding, let's say a stone has a nick or chip. Because I am a goldsmith also, I can take the stone out, polish the nick out, and reset the stone. And I specialized in losing minimal number of points, sometimes not even measurable, to be able to take a nick out. Also, I specialized in being able to do them in the mounting. But when that's not possible, to be able to do it while it's in the mounting, then, you know, I'm able to take it out. And to be able to find the angle and the indexing of the original facets to recut it to match, that takes skill, I have to admit. Let's take a look at this. Here is a tourmaline. Now, many people would call this actually an indicolite. I used to be a purist and only call tourmalines indicolite if they had no green. But I have had to modify that, because about every indicolite I see anymore has a green secondary tone to it, as you'll see. So, okay, look at this. This is a expensive color, no matter what you want to call it, in a tourmaline. So it's a, and this goes back to, again, being dichroic, playchroic, depends on which angle that we look at it through. And we'll look at this for a moment, and you'll be able to see that depending on the direction that you look at it, it makes up for the difference in the color. And you'll see, let me wipe this thing down because there are nicks, but there's not that many on this piece. Let me excuse. Yeah, let's do the flashlight here. All right, so here we'll give you a much better idea of color. Wow. All right, so as I said, often can be called indicolite depending on the direction of color that you look at it through. The direction of the crystal that you look at it through. It can be blue, it can be greenish blue. Looking at it through the lengthwise, saturation, you can't see the color tone. Let's look at it from above. Now, looking at it from above, there's your green. There is the green. So now, I'm going to pull up the shade here in a moment so you can get a little bit other idea of any background color. Now, this stone I've had for a while, and all I had to do is recut it. Let me show you. There is a nick, and for some people it may not even bother them, but right there you can see the nick. So in tourmalines, why they cut them straight up and down on the ends like that, let me show you, thank you, sir. You see that straight up and down? It makes it almost impossible to set this without seeing the outer portions of a basket because it's not angled back in. Now they do that because of the plate-chroic or dichroic or trichroic nature of tourmaline. If you do that, when you look at the stone from above, you'll get a really dark area that is visible coming in from. You'll be able to see it as a completely darker area, whereas other gemstones you don't, and that is because of the nature of its that property. So they cut the tourmaline straight down on the ends. So if I was to have this stone, though, I would just cut it for the correct angles. I would recut it to lessen the saturation. In other words, make it lighter in color. And let me just show you. So there's the green. Look at that green. Isn't that something? And then again, at a different angle, you'll get a green-blue, also different wavelength of light. You'll get a different color as well. So this stone is a stunning color and a valuable color for tourmaline, but it needs some of the saturation lessened. And I would do that by, there's enough angle and stone there to be able to recut it to a shallower depth, still staying above the critical angle so that it doesn't create a window. There's also a little bit of nicks right on the edge. That's all that's wrong with this stone. That would be an easy repair for me to do and have a very valuable stone at 5.64 carat tourmaline like this at a inexpensive price. Let's look at this again. At an inexpensive price is $100 a carat, and that would be more of a wholesale situation. But look at those reflections of color coming out of that. But what I'm offering this stone for as a repair project, see it's completely clean. There's no other inclusions in it. It's just external, a couple of little nicks. Look at that. Look at how clean that is. All right, so let me just sit it back down here and tell you just how inexpensive I'm offering that for you. So, obviously, the worst inclusion's the one on the back side that's not going to be noticeable if you had it, and then the other is the one on the edge on the girdle, which would be really easy. I could hand hold that and cut and polish that out without even dopping it up. That's putting it on the little metal dop that then goes into the machine so you can lock it up and find all the facets correctly, and then relocate them. I always write them down when I polish on a repair, the exact angle and index that I had cut it at, so I can remember exactly how to find it again if needed. All right, so how about this stone, which should be a $500+ tourmaline? Because it's a recutting project, and I am deeply discounting this and making it only $98. That is $17 a carat. Only $98. That is a bargain. And to just buy it as it is, and if you didn't even do anything with it, then that's completely acceptable, because you could set it as a pendant or so many other things that you wouldn't even see the little nick on the edge of the girdle, and of course no one's going to see the spot on the back, and you'd be getting that tourmaline for $17 a carat. Really a good value. Let me show you something else that's an amazingly rare item and value. Item 1169624. 1169624. How about 100+ year old coral? And I know it because I know the piece that this coral came out of. It was very Victorian and very old, and it all came out of one beautifully decorative piece. These are all drilled. It's Italian coral. You can see the flower style to there, the drill hole in the back. You have these other florets like this, and all the coral, it all just needs to be, even if you just used your hand and the oils from your hand, it would completely dress it up and brighten up the coral. Look at that. Beautiful little flower drilled in the back. Then all these are drilled. Half the problem would be drilling them and splitting them after you had them carved. There's 19 different pieces here. Look at that. If you wanted to do an amazing, fun custom piece with just using some wire and soldering, or those clever enough with just wire wrapping type skills, can create something without ever soldering. Look at this. Again, all completely natural coral. And then look at the leaves. Look at the intricacy in how the leaves were carved, and then they're drilled, which makes it so much easier to design and create a piece when you don't have to drill it yourself. When they're already drilled, then it's a matter of just wire and epoxy. Look at that. Now, there's one other thing. Oh, look at this. I still want to show you. Look at that nice large stem or branch You can see how it's been polished. Okay, let me show you. I want to show you a way of identifying coral. I should have brought you the piece that was the fake coral. But one thing that you look for, let me show you from the side here. And there you go, Dave, great. Zoom in on this, and there is, let me just not get too much lighting on it. You will see striations in the growth of the coral. We might be able to find it a little bit better on the leaves. There we go, about the middle of the, kind of move through your irises, see if you can't pick out the striations. Yeah, it's all you, Dave. You guys laughing. Okay, so let me try this light, because this is important, and the leaves will show it. It's real important because the fake coral that I see does not have these type of formations in the coral. And you can easily spot it with just a flashlight and a loop. Let me try these. There we go. That's what I was looking for. You can see it in the stem also, but in this particular light, you can see it in the leaves better. All right, see those little very evenly spaced lines in the coral? Well, when you take the light away, you don't see those. But when they're backlit, you can. The plastics that I see them using for fake coral will not have those lines in them. And all of these do at one point or another in the coral, depending on how it was oriented to start with, just like as in ivory, and the direction that you turn it and how it looks. Again, you can see the well-defined spacing in the lines, and the lines there at all. And again, you'll find that is in these in one direction or another. Again, depending on how the coral was carved relative to the growth, you can see the lines right there as well. So the presence of those, that's what you want to see, because they're not going to be in the plastics that are very commonly used. So there's a nice selection and of very old coral pieces, and something that you just won't come across. And I'll offer that entire selection of them, and coral has truly gone out of sight in pricing. Let's make it only $38 for the entire batch. That was going to be a really cool project I was going to do with all those, since they were already drilled, and mix them in with some other stones. That would still make a fantastic, I should save some of these, but I didn't think about it again, for Andrew to do some wire wrapping. But if someone else gets it, then that's okay too. Now, let me show you, I have something that is from my own, the other collection. Besides the Made in America collection, let's look at item 1169424. I have one of the most stunning. So first, let me show you. It'll be in a suspension box here. Here is the backside, gorgeous. There it is, 1169424. And my birthstone. Look at that. Garnet, except this is a really fine spessartine garnet. Look at that look at that gem. And this is the good stuff. This is a stunning color and beautiful cut. Look at that. Look at that. And Tanzanian material from Loliondo, and that's the Arusha region, same region that Tanzanite comes out of. Garnets almost always have some type of inclusion in one place or another. This has a little veil inclusion, I think I see in it. But here is something important you need to know. How do you know if someone's trying to sell you a garnet or what they would be a Madeira citrine? Well, spessartine garnet is known as the manganese garnet, and it is made up of the valence Mn2+. And being made up of that type of manganese gives it one other property that makes it easy to do a test without invading the stone, and it makes it easy to do it in an environment if you're at a show or at some type of other gem environment where you don't have a refractometer, you can't test garnets anyway with them, you're not sure exactly what it is, so you get out your neodymium magnet and you do this. You just see if there's any reaction, and boom. Very obvious and a very strong one. Look at how far away that is before it starts pulling it. And that's a big stone, and it's on plastic, which has a lot of friction. And it can almost pick it, it does pick it up. All right, so that, there is no citrine, even though citrine's color is due to iron as well, but it's due to iron as an allochromatic impurity. In other words, getting its color from an outside impurity. Spessartine garnet is idiochromatic. Idiochromatic means that it gets its color from its composition, which is manganese, aluminum silicate and oxygen. The aluminum silicate and oxygen is almost in all the garnets. That's what makes it a garnet. The different elements at the front of that formula is what makes it a different type of garnet, whether it's a spessartine with manganese or an almandine with iron, or a pyrope with magnesium, or uvarovite with chromium, etc. There's your test right there. That test right there will tell you that it is a spessartine, and you can be pretty much assured that with the inclusion in it telling you that, okay, so there's a natural stone, and then with the brilliance telling you that it has a high refractive index, yeah, you can feel comfortable making that purchase. Now, this stone in the regular market, these right now going for big bucks, as they always have been. So, you know, that stone, a really good value on it would be, well, to buy it wholesale would be $100 a carat kind of material. Look at that. that's really a beautiful, beautiful gem. Really nicely cut. All right. But Shawn's price, well, that's a whole nother ball game, because I have no idea what I ever paid for it, and am going to offer it at a discount. And that means I am going to, oh my, pass that jeweler along for, make sure I have this right. Yeah, $94, only $35 a carat. Could that be so? Yep, $35 a carat. Unbelievable opportunity. Don't miss out. Look at that. $94. All right, I have a little mess to clean up for a moment. I'll be right back. Now, if I didn't tell you that this was a thumbnail specimen, that could be 6 inches long. It could be a museum quality specimen. Actually, if you just scale it way down, it is a museum quality specimen in a miniature way. I called this a thumbnail because that's kind of what they call them relative to your thumb. You can see why. They actually have contests on the best thumbnail specimens and all, I think, and thumbnail societies and whatnot. This is a great thumbnail, especially when you consider locality. Okay, remember, this is just a goop, so this is just stuff that sticks to it. But everything else comes off if I pull it off apart, just trying to get that goop off. You know how much I don't like that stuff. So anyway, I'm showing you that it will come off. I was just kind of curious as to what the bottom is. Who knows? There could be an anhydro bubble down there and I'd be giving it away. I have done things like that. Look at that. Here is, look at that formation to the aqua. I love the little sidecar crystals like that. Look at that tourmaline, just a classic. Look at the iris in that. I mean, for a little specimen, this has everything. Kind of like the barrel one I had the other day. That, look at the iris up there. That I had an emerald crystal, an aqua crystal, and a goshenite. They weren't all in one specimen, but look at that. They don't even need the goop. It sits naturally like that, of course, because of the big barrel crystal balancing it out. But I guess it keeps it from falling off in the display box. But wow. Okay, so, and the third mineral right there is the, looks like classic feldspar that is often found with them as well. Oh, I don't know, it may be in calcite internally. You can just take a look at it when you look closer or check it for fluorescence or whatnot. All right, so this goes on that neat little dealio there. Then it actually, this is the way I got it. This was an estate piece in the Perky box. Anyway, how about this? The whole thing for $36. Only $36. And what a look. What a look. Now, running out of time, so let's keep moving here. Let me show you at 11690.24. 11690.24. And here is a collection that, again, is a one that you're not going to often see, and I'm going to show you why. All right, look at this. Okay. It's you have the Australian bicolor sapphire. Now let me show you. This is a amazing specimen, and as look at this. Okay, here is perfect. Your two colors of sapphire, the yellow and the blue. That is very classic for Australian sapphires. This often will lead to a greenish color because of the blending of those two colors together. But wait, this has something a little additional, extra. Look at this. Let me get the angle right. Boom. Look at that. Let me try this other light for a moment and backlight it right here. Seeing how, okay. Look at that other crystal that's involved. Let me do this and move it away from here. We'll find the right angle because there it is. Look at that crystal within a crystal. And there we go. Now I told you I had some sapphires. This is not my anhydro sapphire. Wait till you see that. That's a cut star sapphire when I show you the anhydro piece and bring it in with a moving bubble inside a sapphire. But this is something different. I haven't exactly figured out what the other mineral is that is forming that crystal, but that's the piece from the side. Look how gemmy that sapphire is. Look at that. There's a better view of it. You can see the shape of it really well. Almost looks like an odd alien eye. I'm not so sure that it's not a sapphire crystal. Look at the shape of the external clear area around it. This is a, remember, inclusion of the month? Would definitely make inclusion of the month. How unique is that? Go find another one of these. All the sapphires I've looked into, and over 50 plus years of doing this, and I have not found a single one that, that had this type of play. So, now, thank you, sir. If we look at this under just a normal light, you don't see that at all. You don't see any chance of seeing that without the backlighting to it. I actually tumbled this myself, and I got that amazing polish when I tumbled that other corundum I told you when I got the diamond compound from Australia. I mean, not diamond compound, the powdered diamond dust. Look at the sapphire color in that, though. This holds a really amazing little treasure on the inside. Now, let me show you these others real quick. Here we go. This is a purple, most likely wood star. When you see that little shape, the crystal shape to it, and when it has that chatoyant reflection that you're seeing right there, then there's a good chance that that is going to end up. Here is the other side that even showcases it more. When you have that perfect crystalline pattern like that, and you have that little chatoyancy across the face of it, then there's a really good chance that that is going to cut a star. And that's what you look for right there. That could be an amazing, beautiful purplish star. And then the last one I have here is another grayish lavender, and it also has the potential, because it has that same little chatoyancy and there's a hexagonal pattern in there, to cut a star. But you have to orient this one correctly so that the star faces straight up. All right, 3 fun cutting pieces or specimens, however you want them. $28 for the 3. Yep, only $28 for the 3. Let's look at item number 1169324. 1169324, and this is a beaut. Let's unwrap this together and see what we have. Let's see what we have here. Look at that. Now that is a rock crystal. Rock crystal is the name given to quartz that is of a better quality and color than other quartz. You can see just how white and clear that is against the white background, and there is no tint of color. That is colorless. You have some wonderful kind of fodden style inclusions, thread-like inclusions at the bottom. made in Brazil. That's important. That shows you origin. You have, look at that nice faceted beveled edge at the bottom. This is this has been from a crystal that they've had, and then they polish all the same sides to it that were there. And it's just a really nice gift, paperweight, or to add to your own personal collection. And due to the quality of this one, of course they bring more value, but on this guy I am going to offer it for only, ready, set, sale at why not, $16. Only $16 on that guy, which is a good value for all that. Think of it, all those sides have to be polished and everything that they do to it compared to just a normal quartz crystal. Item 116-9824. I'm getting ready to show you something very rare. I mean, really rare, folks. And I'm not sure whoever got the golden barrel crystal, the large golden barrel crystal that I had from the Crabtree mine. Well, if whoever got that one, you may want to consider getting what I'm getting ready to show you, because this one makes that one look common. What I'm getting ready to show you is one of the rarest golden barrels you will ever find in the United States, and that is from the Palermo mine in New Hampshire. Look at this piece of golden barrel. This has been a treasure of mine. The mine originally was discovered in 1863 and worked as a mica mine. It changed hands. By 1888, it was bought up by the Palermo Mining Company, and that's where it got its name. It changed hands. GE owned it for a period of years during the wartime, and then later it has been mined more for mineral specimens, but off and on in between for beryl, feldspar, and mica. The mine, long producing mine, the Palermo mine near Groton. And look at this. This has a wonderful termination right here. You can see a little bit of mica interspersed in some of the areas with it. It has a wonderful, wonderful hexagonal symmetry. But here's the primary value is the translucency and this color. This is an intense yellow, natural color, and incredible clarity for what this is. Work your magic. Thank you, sir. Look at that. Look at the clarity to it. That's what really, you can see light passing through the entire distance of the piece. And wow, this is United States golden barrel from a mine producing for what, 80 years, long time, 1863, so yeah, 70 years, long time. And yeah, what am I thinking? 1860, that's 100, and wow, does time escape me the older I get, my goodness. So to 1963 to 2023, 160 years or something. I just want to subtract. Okay, that is a piece that any collector would love to have in their collection. It's going to stand out in a barrel collection when put with other barrels like an aqua crystal, or emerald crystals or another, let's say this is part of my Made in the USA collection. And to have a golden barrel from this particular mine of that particular quality is extremely rare. Extremely rare. It's not producing anymore. Nothing like that. Price on this is only $118. $118. That's like, if you're going to figure a per carat price, that's like 50 cents a carat. That is a piece, because the color is what really gets me. The color. Here it is in my hand, and to show you the size. So it's a large size and a striking, intense color. And then the clarity, because if you look at other pictures, other Palermo golden barrels, this is true Heliodor, you don't see the translucency. They're opaque. The difference makes all the difference. Okay, let me show you. I have next. This is something for everybody. A fossil collection, sort of. Item 1168824. Because I say sort of, because there's a little bit of everything here. Let me show you this. All right, let's go to the Withlacoochee River. Look at that. You wouldn't think that that's a coral, would you? Well, it was, it was basically. Look at that. So here it actually replaced the coral. The coral is gone. Look at the inside of that. Look at, that could even be cleaned out more, because there's crystalline growth even further back in there. But look at how pretty that is. That's all quartz on the outside. Okay, all quartz. Then, as part of this same opportunity, look at this. Let's go to Tampa Bay. The Ballast Point deposit that is extinct. Now, for those of you with a flat polisher like Charles, you could use this and put a beautiful, beautiful polish on the exterior. You can see the quartz on the inside here. Here's how you can tell. This, you step on this and you're going to know it, because this material, Ballast Point, well, it used to be, would be on the beaches and would wash out, and it is really sharp. I remember working at the rock shop in Sarasota, having to unload burlap bags when I was 13 of that material, and had to wear heavy, heavy gloves, or else my hands would be come home cut open. All right, let's go 100 million years back. These were only 25, 30 million. Let's go to 100 million years. What do we have? We have another fossil from the ocean. This is an ammonite. And on this side, it is the gem variety, the ammonite. Look at this. Look at these colors. So now, most of course, the gem ammonite comes from the Canadian deposits, which produce the beautiful, beautiful material. But there's nothing shabby about this color at all. And they polish off the outside to get to these kind of colors on there. Look at that. Look at that. That is this is quite an impressive piece overall, as you can see. Now, also on the inside, so you have calcite crystals, and if the calcite crystals continue to grow with time, they completely fill in the open cavity. Now, there'll be a siphuncle that would have originally run all the way through these chambers, and it was through that it can control its buoyancy in the water. The little tentacles came out right here, and that is where and how it grabbed its food. This is a wonderful, wonderful collection of 3 marine fossils, and you get all 3 of them for only $28. Yep, only $28 on that. So, a really good value, most indeed. Now, let me show you a sale. Let's see, this is Mark's sale price. What do we have here? Okay, let's look at this. This is item number 115-2524. 115-2524. And Japanese rainbow garnet. Look at this, a cluster of Japanese rainbow garnet. And again, this is not the Made in America, but this is the other collection of mine, which was the Garnet family, my birthstone collection. So you can see you have all kinds of reflective surfaces in this one. And I tell you what, I'm going to make this a wonderful, incredible sale then on this guy. And make sure that everyone can afford to have one, because I want everyone to have one. And we're going to mark this one down to, believe it or not, make it only $36. $36. Yep. And as we're coming up on the close of the show, here is one of the most incredible deals that I still have. It is item 115-0623. 115-0623. And look at this. Look at this collection that, who would think? Look at those matching Russian chrome diopsides. Look at those. I looked those up, and they are not inexpensive at all to buy. Not a match set like that. Unbelievable deal. And this is going to be the last sale price opportunity on this. I'm going to do after that. I'll keep them. Yeah. So let's see, the total weight, 6.77 carat. My goodness. The cheapy place was selling a 20 a carat. All right, here we go. Ready, set. $10 a carat would be $67 a carat. $5 a carat would be, would be way less than I should be. All right, okay, well, we'll make it around that. So let's do this, $36. $36. That's the final price. And looks like almost the last item of the show. Here it is, last item of the show. This guy is, yeah, perfect. It is item number 997721. 997721, and here is one of the coolest fossils I have had. All right, look at this guy. Do you have the info or you need it? 997721. Here. You got it? Okay, great. All right, look at this. Okay. If you flip him over, look at that. There's a trilobite. There's a trilobite, just like you've seen behind me, the large ones behind me, but there's something more cool than that. Look at this side. Here it is. Here it is. Look at this. The positive and negative impression of another trilobite. Now, that is a cool piece when they're like that. Look at that. So you can show them off like this. You can donate them to a school, which I've done before. You can display it like this to where, think about it. So the trilobite died inside, not inside, the mud formed around it, but how pretty, how unique, and how inexpensive. Because this neat two-sided, two-part piece, I am going to offer for only $16. That'll be the last item of the show. Trivia coming up. Okay, so enjoyable show, I hope, for you, and always for me. Now, remember, so I told you, Raven put her, because she cleans up all this mess behind me, thank goodness. And then she stuck her. I said, come back in 5 minutes. So in the 5 minutes, I'm going to tell you the story between. Some of the stuff, you know, I wouldn't want her to see or hear the whole complete stories, because we love our rocks and minerals. We love our rocks and minerals, but we also know that we love them a little so much that it makes it harder, I think, for her sometimes to let go of some of these, even though she has no idea, since she won't go on air and act like a host with me and learn, so she could maybe sell off some if something happened to me one day. But since she hasn't done that yet, you know, I don't want her to have to deal with all of these specimens. But if it was up to her, she would still have the very first rock she had from day one to the last day that they'd be filling her grave in with those as well. Okay, so I say that because of that box that I found in that room, and, you know, with her name kind of on it, and with all kinds of stuff in that box, I kind of had to add my business name on it in disguise a little bit so she couldn't lay claim to the whole box and say, see, my name's on it, those are all mine. When you open the box and every single one of them has got, you know, other markings of it, it's mine. But she's a little stinker. She'll lay claim to those rocks if she can. And I am glad that she actually has over the years, because if not, there'd been some amazing pieces that I've enjoyed that I would have long ago sold, and now you get the pleasure of getting to see them. So I only found that box at the last moment of doing inventory yesterday, because for Latif I have a 3 o'clock deadline I have to get in. No, that's okay. So that he can get everything entered, and which is earlier than it used to be. So anyway, I found it only towards the end, so I could only get a couple items inventoried in. Next weekend, there's going to be some fun surprises, but it's not going to be like these big world-class, multi-thousand, multi-expensive specimens. No, these are going to be really, really cool specimens. You know, like for example, the amber with the insects, those were stunning specimens, big insects, and I priced them very favorably. Now, I say I priced them because I can't imagine the actual market value is for that size insect in them the way I priced them to all of you for. I've had them for a long time, so you get the benefit of that. And with me not really, you know, knowing current value at all on that kind of things. So it's those kind of things. So when I found this box, there's some unusual things in there. I can't wait to show you next week. I didn't have the time this week to get them all entered. I'm thinking a couple of them. Which ones were they? Anyway, the really cool ones. Wait, there's more cool ones coming. And that wasn't getting me past, that wasn't getting both feet in the door to that room. Yeah. There's more in there. There's also, I have a neat quadcopter, but that was when they first came out, and I was going to do some prospecting by the air. Now, they got those little drone helicopters that probably can actually do the prospecting themselves. I mean, they've so improved it, and the prices come so far down. So, anyway, all kinds of stuff in that room. Toys for boys and girls. Okay, so this week we're going to do something a little different for trivia. And all of you, I think, like this part of it. It is, what am I? Let's look at the first specimen on the left. Or, okay, here they are at the same time. Great shot. So let me turn that angle so that may help you. Okay, so let's go with specimen on the left is number 1. What am I? Now, pretend you found this in the field, or you have a friend that walked up to you and said, boy, I found this, and you know, it looks just different. You know, what is it? Do you know what it is? And you're put on the spot. And you've been collecting rocks for a long time, and I could say, are expected to know what it is, but even I Everything I see, you can't be expected to know what everything is. There's so many rocks and minerals and so many things that look similar but yet are different. But this is one that you may have recently learned a little bit about. Now, we could ask what this is as well, but we won't go that far. We're just wondering, what is the lavender part? What is the lavender part? The mineral that is lavender color. What is that? And extra credit, you can let me know what you think that is as well. Both of them is something that you should know, as well as this. What is this? You can see it has a particular shape, right? A very particular shape. It might be a little crude as far as a classic look for what you might expect this specimen to look like as a crystal, but it is a crystal nonetheless, and from the way it looks and its shape, it should be everything you need to know is there for you to tell me what the family group name is. All right, so you only have to tell me what the family group name is, not necessarily the specific family member. Okay, so that is your question for the trivia. Two questions, so to speak. What am I? One on the left and one on the right. So good luck with that. I'm sure most or all of you will do really well. If not, that's just the fun of it. It's just fun. And, you know, I'm creating a scenario that I have been put under so many times, even as recently as just yesterday. Our neighbor had a family friend come down, and well, it was her brother and then the daughter, and they went to the Consolidated Gold Mine up in Dahlonega, which was an original gold mine with a 20 stamp mill. It was the most prolific gold mine in Dahlonega, so much gold that they actually built a crushing mill. And it's still right next to the Walmart up there, and you can tour it. I've toured it, of course I would. And then afterwards you can buy buckets, a gold bucket or a gem bucket. And of course the gem bucket is salted, but that's the only way you find anything. And I used to be really against places doing that, but I'm not so much anymore, because it still spreads the passion and love of rocks and minerals, even if it gives people the impression that they can go down to the creek and find opal, amazonite, turquoise, and all these other gems that I've seen in these in these one bucket. And I used to have it's like, oh, you know, being the purist I am, but I got totally away from that, because what hooked me when I was 11 was not a native gem dirt bucket where I would have to recognize and know what these little indiscriminate pieces of corundum look like. No. I got what was the salted bucket. And it was the salted bucket where they put in the big Indian ruby crystals that now, these Indian ruby crystals, you can't even get them anymore, but at the time you could buy them in a burlap bag, and they'd put them in these buckets. And then, so I remember still to this day, finding it was like 50 or 60 carats. And going home, you know, I was with my parents, but I remember going back and saying, Mommy, Daddy, I found $1 million, and I use that word, $1 million ruby, and I want to learn how to cut it. If it was not for me finding a large, oversized red, it looked ruby to me, they said it was a ruby too, and it technically was. if it wasn't for me finding something that had been placed in that bucket, allowing me to get that passion fired up by monetary value, of course, the money. If it was this little tiny big, I couldn't have seen a value of $1 million. It wasn't like it was going to be a red diamond, right? No. So when I think about it, there is value to getting a bucket that has been salted with other material, because that way your children are going to find something that they recognize as pretty, as colorful, as maybe they associate with value. And that's certainly how it worked for me. Now, within 2 years after that, maybe it was 3, I was already by then like 14, cutting rubies and sapphires, charging money for it down in Sarasota, Florida, from people that had been to North Carolina. And when I'd come up to North Carolina and go to the flumes out there, I became a little too well known, because I would wait at the end of the flume line at the native buckets, and all the ones that all the tourists weren't recognizing as the native stones, or even sometimes the salted ones, I'd sit at the end of the flume line, and I was making out like a bandit, and I'd help along. People recognize that, and as a little kid, and so I'd say, okay, here, and so the owners of the mine saw me as kind of free help to start with, but once they saw me, I mean, it was legal. Once they saw me pilfering, they actually were kind of cool about it, because they came up to me, hey, said, listen, we know now that you really know what you're doing, and we do the same thing. And you're taking from us. They laughed about it. They talked about it. They joked about it. They made me feel okay about not getting to do it anymore, because that's all they did. They said, we take the pile of stuff that gets washed down the flume at the end of the day, and they recycle it and fill the buckets back up with some native dirt. And most of the time, native rubies from Cowrie Valley you could be shown 10 of them. This is what you're looking for, and you would miss the 11th. You still wouldn't recognize it. The sapphires, unless they're glowing red, you would miss the rubies. And that's what people were doing. They just didn't recognize them because a native one, but they sure could recognize the big salted other gemstones that were put in these buckets. Now, I remember it was a native bucket. The salted buckets were actually more. It was like $5 a bucket, and you could get a native bucket for like $3. And unless you really knew what you were doing, which I quickly learned within a couple of years of what I was really doing and how to spot them. So I didn't get to do that anymore, but it was fun while it lasted, and certainly taught me a whole lot about how to recognize a native Cowrie Valley ruby. Now remember, this is 1974, 75. Native stones now, that's what, since my math is kind of off these days, 60 years ago, 50 years ago, there's so little native material out there anymore. I was actually out there not over Christmas when my son and I took off and went up there, and there's just really tourist mines. There's nothing like it used to be. They don't last forever, native material. And then that ground out in the valley there became so much more valuable to put a home on it or something else other than a mine. The mine owners sold off their properties just, to developers for other reasons. Made more money that way. Made sense. So, okay. It's always important to be able to recognize what you're looking at, and I know that it was being able to recognize a large red stone that looked like $1 million to me is what fired my passion up, that burns red to this day. And so thanks for supporting me and loving the hobby as much as I do, and keep it going. And again, as long as I keep finding surprises of inventory, you're going to keep getting to see really cool things that it's kind of neat, because if I had to go and pick individual pieces to sell to you, my taste might run different than this anonymous discovery style of bringing you inventory. So, all right, I have fun every week because I never know what I'm going to find in the next gem bucket. And I hope you will enjoy the discovery along with me. God bless all of you. Thank all of you again for your support. And again, since I see everybody else doing it, give me a thumbs up. And let's see, what am I supposed to say? And subscribe. That's it, subscribe. Yeah, those are the words. Check the thumbs up and yep, got them both covered. I'm kind of new to this, 63 years old. I didn't even know there was those kind of things that because you never heard me until the last couple months say anything about subscribe. You never heard that word come, unless it was like subscribe-ite, might be subscribe-ite, but since there isn't any, I don't think I've used that word with you. Enjoyed it. Can't wait to see you next Monday. Cheers.